先日までね、先日っていうか昨日まで、一昨日まで5800持ってたんだけど、肝心のね RTX3080 がアメリカ全く手に入らない。
Yes, it was my way.
鈴谷自動車学校 3T
ケンリー大学のデータを分析したところ、調査を必要とする脅威が見つかった。ホワイトハウスにいるトーレスに移送してもらえ。
セーフエリアに入ります。
And the Bidens are now at St. Matthew's Catholic Church on Rhode Island Avenue, about 8 blocks north of the White House. They're attending a service along with congressional leaders there. The president departed Andrews Air Force Base on Air Force One, as you saw, with closing remarks and also the music selected by the Trump folks. Your voices as we watch the events of today. Coming up, the next thing that we'll probably watch is the departure from St. Matthew's and then the arrival at the Capitol and some of the VIPs showing up at the Capitol. Full schedule of events all day long, including a wreath-laying ceremony at Arlington Cemetery with President and Mrs. Biden and former Presidents Bush, Clinton, and Obama as well attending that. 202 is the area code for all of our numbers. 748-8920 if you live in the Central Time Zone. 202-748-8921 for those of you in the Mountain and Pacific Time Zone. We're hearing from our international callers as well today. 202-748-8922 is the number for you to dial. And then if you want to send a text message, we'd love to hear from you. Include your first name and your city. 202-748-8903. This is the 59th time in our country's history that there has been a transfer of power from one president to another. That is occurring today as we speak. Joe Biden will be the 46th president. Kamala Harris will be the 49th vice president. Let's hear from Michael from New Jersey. Michael, you're on C-SPAN. American unity is the theme of the Biden
エージェント、今度の組織はかなりやりづらい。相手はあのラウ。 彼女は4人の元ディビジョンエージェントと動いてる。彼らのうち何人かは最近雇われたばかりみたいね。マンハッタンを離れてからラウはエージェントたちを勧誘してた。その目的は未だ不明。でも仲間たちを特定できた。ブリジット・ダグラス、コールサインはバイパー、化学品の物流に関する専門家。第一波発生時に活動を始めたがほどなく姿を消した。フェリックス・ソコロフ、コールサインはケストレル、戦闘時の医療支援と護衛任務の専門家。大学で医学の学位を取得。家業のおかげでディビジョン内でも影響力を持ち、それを最大に生かした。ブラックタスクが彼を欲しがるわけだ。ダスティン・ザビエル、コールサインはマグナス。アフガニスタンで2度の従軍後ディビジョンに採用されブラックタスクに移った。潜入と暗殺の専門家。レスリングが得意でそれが除隊の原因にもなった。格闘戦は避けて勝ち目がないから。アリシア・コズワルド、コールサインはサーシ、ディビジョンからブラックタスクに寝返った。実を取り誰とでも手を組むの。ラウを引き抜いていなかったとしてもシェーファーに合わせたのは彼女。ラウの計画のために情報を集めているようね。ラウが独自のチームを率いてるなら何か企んでるはず。これまでは密かに行動していたのに今は隠す素振りも見せない。私たちにアピールしたいのね。要望に応えてやって。
ケンリー大学のデータを分析したところ調査を必要とする脅威が見つかった。ホワイトハウスにいるトーレスに移送してもらえ。
グループに加入しました。
標的は近いぞ、エージェント。標的はそいつだ。
グラインダーファイヤーフライをゲッジ。
Xavier, before we hear any more from
I'm in Singapore. Now it's pretty early. Wrapping up some work, wrapping up some stuff like that there, and then I can put some more videos on YouTube. And
生体室の危険領域。
JFK, of course. I'm the principal of the school in Brooklyn, New York. And my children are lacking something that every American child should have. I need a the blatant
エージェントが助けを求めています。
racism that we've heard over the last 4 years. My children, my kids, need to feel the way I felt when I was their age. The only thing they can is
よくやった。
no matter who they are,
俺たちは
no
同じ
matter
だ。
the choices
俺
they
もお前
make
もああいう
about
部
their
署であり
lifestyle.
見てきたはずだ。
That everything
弱者
that
が
this
指導者になったら
country
どうなるの
has to
か。
offer is
そして
open
政府
to
は俺
them.
たちの命を守ってくれないことも知っ
And
て
in
る。
a way, Trump did us
急
a
速な
favor.
変化には機敏に反応しなければ
So
ならない。
much was hidden
だが政府の動きが鈍すぎる。
that
ハ
we
ンマー
all
が必要な
came to
時
see
に
on the
奴ら
surface.
はメスを持ち出してきた。
And I feel
俺
like
がハ
I
ンマ
was
ーにな
over
る。
to Pollyanna before about
また懸賞金を
where we
獲
were
得し
as
た
a
ようだな。
nation
よくやった。
in moving forward past the racism, sexism of the past. Trump kind of showed us that it's still there to an extent that many of us did not realize.
Right. Esther in Baldwin, New York. Greta Bronner's been looking at social media and news sites all morning.
Jennifer Jacobs, who covers the White House for
エージェント
Bloomberg,
がグループを離脱。
President Trump wrote the incoming President Joe Biden a note. Sources tell her Trump never came to the Oval Office this morning, but the letter was
別
left
のエージェントがグループリーダーになりました。
via an aide, and the Vice President Mike Pence left a note for
グループから
Vice
離脱しまし
President-elect
た。
Kamala Harris on his desk in the West Wing. Now, around noon today, President-elect Joe Biden will be sworn into office. Some details about the Bible. The Huffington Post reports
Safe area catch.
127-year-old family heirloom that Biden will use at his inauguration has many important dates recorded inside. The New York Times has a picture of the Bible. Take a look at this. It's from 1893. It's 5 inches thick. It has a Celtic cross on the cover. Huffington Post reports that the Bible comes from the Biden side of the family, and that's what he told Late Show host Stephen Colbert during an interview last month. Biden's father's family has English and Irish roots, and the president-elect told Colbert that every important date in the family's history has been inscribed in this Bible, including all the times he was sworn in as senator and as vice president. They go on to report the Biden family Bible has emerged during important moments in the president-elect's political career. Soon after Biden was elected as a Delaware senator in November of 1972, a car crash claimed the lives of his wife and injured their 2 sons. Not wanting to leave his sons in the hospital, Biden ended up being sworn in with the family Bible from a hospital. Senator-elect Biden from that hospital. Now, Kamala Harris is in the and some other details about today's pageantry. State Bennett reports and says that Dr. Joe Biden will be wearing ceremony for them. Kate Bennett says that Melania Trump today wore Chanel crop jacket, pre-fall collection.
Several live events this afternoon and today coming up. Of course, the inauguration ceremony itself begins at about 11:30. A few people are coming in. You can see there, there's nobody allowed on the National Mall. A few invited guests in the Congress up on the steps of the restaurant. And then this afternoon there will be a wreath-laying ceremony at Arlington Cemetery. On the East Front there will be a military pass in review. And then President Biden will be out there to see that. And then there'll be a short military testimony. In the meantime, we're going to continue to take your calls. Chris in Oroville, Washington. Chris, are you old enough for another attempted novel, or is there one that sticks out in your mind?
Reagan. Kind of that last call. Right now, 70 million people are screaming that he wasn't wearing a mask when he got off the plane. And, we are divided. President politics. I thought Obama was on TV all the time, but nothing compared to President Trump. He was a 24-hour news service and celebrating.
So, when you say that we are divided, the theme of this year's inauguration is American unity. What would you like to hear?
Well, I feel like his comments will be short, and if it is all-day event, I do hope he has, get some time for a nap in the middle there. He is a pretty elderly fella, as all of our leaders are right now. McConnell, Schumer, Pelosi, all, over 75 years old. I hope everybody just takes a breath. Let's get going again. We got a new guy in office. You have to wish the president luck because our country needs leadership. And I hope Kamala can. at this is no new thing. We've been in wars for 200 years of our 240. So these things just happen, and it's unfortunate how Trump's presidency ended. That run on the Capitol, I can't think of one thing Portland, they've had insanity the last year. I don't think this run on the Capitol is conservative values. We're living in some strange times, but this is not president stuff. This is social media stuff and news coverage stuff that we're just listening to this news 24 hours a day. It's making people crazy. Would you agree with that?
That's Chris in Oroville, Washington. Let's hear from Misty in Siloam Springs, Arkansas. Misty, you're on C-SPAN.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you taking my call. I'm coming from a total different tack than what I've heard this morning. And by the way, it took me about 176 calls to get through. I've been trying for almost 2 hours. But this Unite, they can throw that down the toilet. It's not going to happen. There are too many people like me that have seen calling for impeachment for President Trump the day he was elected. We've seen our agency, State Department, the Justice Department, work actively and now we have this technology, everything we've seen riots and Black Lives Matter. And
hey, tell you what, Misty.
Okay, well, I don't think there's going to be any unity. I really don't believe there's anything he can say that will make me convinced that this election won't fold and that Donald Trump has been set up all 4 years. It's so obvious. And I would like to hear
All right, Misty, that's Misty in Arkansas. I want to show you a picture taken by Tammy Thuringer, who's on the staff here at C-SPAN, one of our producers, with the extra security. She took that through a fence, looking up at the Capitol. It looks like she took it from the house side, and there's the botanical gardens in the foreground. Of course, it's all blocked off. It's difficult to maneuver around here right now. Tony is calling in from India. Tony, where in India are you? You're in Calcutta. And why are you watching C-SPAN? So you've heard about President Trump in Calcutta? What did you think about
の研究開発室からネットワークにアクセスしてるぞ。阻止してくれ。
Reliable information about the numbers and the government regulations that are out here. So I don't know. I just stay at home. I'm lucky that I don't have any financial difficulties. I only go out to get groceries. I wear a mask at all times when I'm out. And yeah, at this time in evening, which is right now, it's about 7:50 in India in the evening. So at this time, I'd be out with people. Instead, I'm watching C-SPAN.
Well, we're glad you're watching C-SPAN in Calcutta, Tony. Let's return and talk with Greta Bronner.
Matt Visor of the Washington Post sends out this tweet with details about what the president-elect will be wearing today. Joe Biden is expected to wear a navy suit and navy overcoat, both by American designer Ralph Lauren, according to transition officials. Dr. Jill Biden is wearing an ocean blue wool tweeded coat and dress by emerging American designer Alexandra O'Neill. And then also some pictures from up on the platform for the inauguration. Neil measuring there. And then take a look at this image. The senator-elect, the new one, will get Senator-elect Reverend Warnock also is getting there. And then Chad Pergham of Fox News reports hub on the other side of the Capitol. He takes his photo of And then a new poll out by Ed O'Keefe of CBS News shows that 3-1 Americans see Kamala Harris is quickly making the And then also some well wishes. This is from Senator Tom Harper from Delaware, a colleague of Joe Biden, saying that today represents a new beginning for the country. It marks the beginning of healing and unifying, coming together to get through this crisis and build back better. There will also be several governors. Governor Doug Ducey is a Republican, and he's proud to represent the state board of the nation's
エージェントが行動不能です。
Coming out from John Bresnahan, one of her colleagues on Capitol Hill, former Speaker Paul Ryan has been spotted at today's inauguration. And it's just funny about Capitol Police is informing reporters that any member of the press trying to go through security screening with a bulletproof vest today will be denied entry. Reporters are told they cannot wear vests, gas masks, or helmets. Dean Phillips, a congressman, he responds to that tweet yesterday saying this is totally unacceptable to preclude reporters and journalists from wearing vests to the inauguration when members of Congress and dignitaries are being advised by many to do so. The fourth estate is as integral to democracy as the branches themselves.
And this is the 59th time in our nation's history that there has been a transition of executive power. They've come in different forms, the pageantry of big inaugurations and parades. It's happened up in Vermont when Calvin Coolidge became president, when Warren Harding died. It's happened on Air Force One when LBJ was sworn in on November 23rd of November 22nd.
エージェントが助けを求めています。
Gerald Ford, August 9th, 1974 at the White House. So they've taken very different forms. This year again has a very different feel to it. That's a live picture from the Washington Monument looking east toward the Capitol, and the theme of this inaugural is American Unity. Eliza, Tampa, Florida. Eliza, what would you like to hear from President-elect Biden?
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. It's Eliza, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Unity, I think it's incredibly important. I actually, the minute you said the word unity much earlier this morning. I was reflecting on 9/11 and how we had all the flags in the car windows and all the cheering for the fire departments and police vehicles as they drove by. And there were no party lines. We were just simply Americans. And we were banding together. And it almost felt like the entire nation was hugging each other. And over the last 4 years, I've watched in the shock and sadness at the pandering to those with either negative intent and or undeserved blind loyalty. And it's been very painful. And I almost feel now with this unity vision coming into the new presidency, I feel like I've left a seriously abusive relationship. I don't, it's just like tears of relief. And I feel like we've spent 4 years being divided. And if you forget about the party line and any positive things that were done during the Trump administration have been completely overshadowed, unfortunately, by actions and behaviors that were completely unpresidential. And I think this is a way of hope. And I'm hoping we can get back. I mean, 9/11 was an incredible, horrible tragedy. But the unity, when we came together, I really hope, and I'm saying this as a Democrat within a Republican state.
Right, but Elisa, okay, you've made your point, but how do you think Joe Biden should address that in his inaugural address?
I truly hope he addresses each and every American as an American and not as a Democrat or a Republican, and I think he will.
All right, let's leave it there. Thanks for calling in. John is calling in from Southern California. We're in Southern California.
I'm just not excited about it.
Okay. All right, good. Are the past inaugurals told you or anything that you want to hear from President Biden?
Well, studies political science. I have a big burden with the concept of unifying our country. Vision isn't just something political. It has to do with the reckoning that we can thank Trump for acknowledging and bringing out. But there are certain parts that we can't acknowledge. In Charlottesville, was more fortunate, but then what happened on the 6th was a little different because we had people.
So how would you like to see President Biden?
I don't have the panacea for that, but I hope he does because the future republic really does depend on it. He's going to have to bring together, I think, results of the Republican Party and help the Republican Party not succumb to their own division so that we can see true success.
Okay, thank you very much. Hudson, South Korea. Hudson, tell us about yourself.
And for the past 4 years, it's been hard to hold my head up high as an American. I feel as though I can finally do it. I feel as though a chapter in American history is passing. And in regard to the theme you mentioned about American unity, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I do believe the American party needs a recalibration. I believe that it's one of the few countries where you can actually go and try to make something of yourself, to change your life, to better yourself. And Americanism is not by blood. It's something that we can apply for, we can aspire to. And a little bit of attention that speaks to all of us, including the 70 million or so who also voted for Donald Trump. Again, I don't know how he's going to do it, and he's got burden on his shoulders from everybody. But, I think he is the guy to point us in that direction, to recalibrate
So, Hudson, can you tell us what kind of
I teach at a university here.
In Seoul or in a different?
Yes, I'm in Seoul.
Was President Trump in the last 4 years a daily news item?
For me, yes. As an American, yes. But for the common South Korean, I think not. I think occasionally with some of the bigger stories in the news, you hear about it in the Korean press. But for us,
and
once he went up to the DMZ and met with Kim Jong-un, people, I mean, regardless of what side of politics you're in Korea, that was a pretty momentous moment, although nothing really came of it. But people, you know, were kind of, what's going on? And we were looking.
All right. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for watching us in South Korea today. Recently, we spoke with a former President Obama speechwriter about what goes into making a good speech.
My advice to him would be my advice to anybody who is giving a speech, which is, you know, what is the one true thing that you can say, and to speak to this particular moment in the most honest way that you possibly can.
And John McConnell, your advice?
Take yes for an answer. You are President of the United States. The campaign is over. The country is looking to you with great expectations, great goodwill. This is not a country obsessed with politics. This is a country that has a lot of problems and you know, a nasty tone in its politics. None of that has to be reflected in the inaugural address. You are the president. Look forward, look ahead, tell the country where you want to go, what you want to do. It's not about your adversaries. It's not about it's about you, and this is probably you're probably not going to run for office again. So just be every inch the president of the United States. But he doesn't need my advice.
And that was from last week's Q&A program on C-SPAN. A reminder that President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris are at St. Matthew's Catholic Church right now in downtown Washington. They're at a service along with some of the congressional leadership, including Speaker Pelosi, Majority Leader McConnell, Minority Leader Schumer. And after that, the Capitol will become the focus for the next several hours of what's going on Inauguration Day. People are already starting to arrive and sit down there on the West Front. And then once the ceremony begins at 11:30, noon is the constitutional time that the office needs to change over. So that will happen, and then there'll be some events in the Capitol afterwards, a signing ceremony, military pass and review on the East Front will happen, and then President Biden will be joined by former Presidents Clinton, Bush, and Obama. And then there'll be a short parade, semi-parade to the White House. That's all happening today, all live on C-SPAN. Follow us on social media to get updates. If you can't be away from your TV, at C-SPAN for Facebook, website, and Twitter. And we're going to continue to take your calls, and we're going to talk next to Eric. Eric, have you been around long enough to witness previous inaugurations? And if so, what sort of stuff did you?
Well, I'm an independent. Been with him 55 years. I got a long and where I'm going with this is everybody in the United States of America, they have their own opinions, but what I would really love to see amongst all Americans is to unite together, no matter who represents, Republican or Democrat. I would like to go fishing with you you know, with anybody, white, black, red, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I want people to be able to unite. You know, you got your own opinion about what's going on in America, but I know everybody knows the difference between right and wrong. And so,
how should Joe Biden address that in your view in this announcement?
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else outside of America because the places I've been, the people that I've met, it's been a wonderful experience across my life. And so I'm just wanting people to get along together, no matter what their beliefs are behind what this president has done and what this president is doing, things of that nature. I want everybody to put their personal opinions aside and let the cabinets do their job to make everybody satisfied in America.
So, Eric, you're 55 years old. You told us, what kind of work do you do in Dallas?
Well, I'm an engineer by trade, but unfortunately now I'm disabled.
Now, if you're 55, you remember past inaugurations. Do you tend to watch these every year?
Well, I'm really an independent. Whatever has happened, his competency was
That's Eric in Dallas, and Marcia is in Detroit. Good morning, Marcia.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I would like for, my first experience was when Kennedy became president. So I'm a Democrat socialist, and I voted for Trump. But I think the biggest thing here is that if we don't have the right to say what we want and give our opinions, I don't think there will be peace in this country. So I hope President Biden realizes that how important it is to have the right to have free speech. I hope he realizes that. And so I think it's going to cause a problem. I'm very sorry that Trump did not release Julian Assange and Snowden. But I am very happy that he released our because I had years ago, I had asked the president
奴らは大統領を捉えていたんだ。任務を更新する。大統領の居場所を探り、連れ戻してくれ。金庫室のそばのデータセンターでアイザックをセキュリティに同期してくれ。
The insurrection at the Capitol was going to happen. And I don't hold him responsible for that. You know, you have your children go out here and commit some crime against what America would. You know, Republicans stand for about law and order. Okay, so I don't think that was his fault. But this president administration, I hope they tackle Twitter, Facebook, deactivate accounts because they listen to Republicans. I'm a Democrat. You know, I voted 2 times when they for Bernie Sanders, and for 2020, I couldn't have voted for Biden and Kamala Harris because they increased this record on injustice of the 1994 crime. the reason I did both of them. And I voted
エージェントが助けを求めています
President Trump yesterday announced the muted Quantico Capital. Call it what that crime is for. Marissa is good afternoon to you.
Hi, good afternoon.
Why are you watching C-SPAN today in America's inauguration?
Well, I'm actually watching because I'm interested in American politics, and I've been following the last 4 years with interest. And I'm to be inaugurated as president.
So, did you just start watching American politics over the last 4 years, or did you watch casually?
Well, I think I started watching because I think it was a big achievement in a country like America to have like the first black president. But of course, I had seen and I had followed American politics before that. But honestly, the last 4 years has been a bit infuriating.
Did you spend
検索完了対象者の位置を特定
エース大統領だ回収用のヘリコプターを手配する
金庫室の封鎖を開始
まずいなアイザック金庫室の出方は
金庫室からの出方を検索該当なし
このガラクタが少し待ってくれ西の壁をぶち抜ければ近くにあるメンテナンス一か八かだがこれしか方法はないアイザック大統領の位置への道を示せ
ルートをハイライトします
ようやく役立ったなどうもアイザック
learn to see America like a beacon of hope and also as an example of democracy. And I think most of us got more interested in politics because the last 4 years were completely the opposite of what we were, accustomed to. And so that's why I'm really, really hopeful for today. And I hope that America can go back to being, like an open, multicultural country, and to be an example for everyone.
Marissa in Luxembourg, thanks for your time today. Greta Bronner, what do you have for us?
Eli Stoffels, who reports for the LA Times, sends this tweet out noting that the nuclear codes called the nuclear football in D.C. is flying to Florida with President Trump, while President-elect Joe Biden is in D.C. set to receive another one at noon. You can read more from the LA Times on how Trump's avoidance of Biden's inauguration day has complicated matters. And then Alexander Jackson as a forward-looking speech that will make little to no mention of his predecessor. And that's Rick Scott, also, Alexander Daff, again with the AP, reports that the Vice President-elect is wearing Christopher John Rogers and Sergio Hudson Christopher. Christopher is a young black designer from Baton Rouge and lives in New York City. Sergio is a black designer from South Carolina. And Emhoff is wearing Ralph Lauren suit. And then finally here, a little history from the White House History Association. Thomas Jefferson was the first president to take his oath in the new national capital. His inauguration.
by the current Library of Congress, which is just to the right there on the far side. Aubrey, covenant-free Connecticut. Aubrey, what do you think about the President-elect Biden running on that as far as the being of America?
I just want to say, contrary to what some international callers have said, you should all be proud of your republic and its peaceful transition of power. In Canada, our transitions are based more on common law, where there isn't a constitution to follow for transitioning between administrations. And our governments are ultimately beholden to the crown and not the people. We still don't even elect our head of state and senators.
What is the message?
We've got to start with ourselves and saying things like as often and I'd really like to hear him talk to everyone to stop the rhetoric and start with ourselves and correct ourselves when we do stuff like that.
So have you found yourself being guilty of maybe sowing disunity? Is that what you're saying?
From time to time, that's the words I use, and I often catch myself and correct it. But it's been for years to not use that and get riled up about the verbiage that's been used. And I hope you will say that
Are you waiting on the closing results?
Yes, I am.
Were you exposed?
No, but I've got some.
We are too.
Amen.
All right, Leslie. Thanks for calling me.
Okay.
Chauncey, from California. Chauncey, have you been around long enough to have observed other inaugurations? And if so, which ones are memorable to you?
All that many good ones as well. The first time I saw Obama in 2008, I don't believe I watched it as well as I definitely watched Trump's inauguration in 2016. And certainly a different affair from Obama's and Trump had brain damage in place, for the common man. There's a lot of that presentation, and Obama's speech was wonderful. That you got to get a taste of his oratory skills. And the inauguration in 2016 starkly contrasted that. I'm not going to repeat what George Bush Jr. said about Trump's speech, but it was uncanny, it was eerie, and it seemed pointed as if he was deliberately trying to create an image of America that he could then to manipulate his base, unfortunately.
All right, the theme this year is American unity. What do you want to hear from Joe Biden? If you were writing a speech, what would you put in it? What's that line?
I think something that he should have restoring faith in our American news institutions and media outlets. I think that's something that really took a hit during the Trump presidency, and that's something that continues to stoke tensions. I think that would go a long way, if not directly addressing the lack of unity. That would be a place to start. If we could be on the same page about what is real, what is not, and most importantly, if you could signal a departure from the Trumpian misinformation, I think most Americans breathe a sigh of relief.
That's Chauncey in Hermosa Beach, California, as we continue to watch the arrivals at the Capitol. But let's check in again with Greta Braun.
President-elect Joe Biden tweeting out this morning, it's a new day in America. And his former boss, the former president, Barack Obama, tweeting out, congratulations to my friend, President Joe Biden. This is your time. And also up on Capitol Hill, Manu Raju of CNN notes that George W. Bush and Laura Bush have arrived at the Capitol for today's ceremony. And Kamala Harris, the incoming vice president, I'm here today because of the women who came before me, is what she writes in a tweet. Also, just a note about what's ahead. Here's a scoop from Vivian Salama, who notes that a schedule sent to National Security Council staff Tuesday night shows more than 36 members of the incoming Biden National Security staff plan to be in place by midday today when the president-elect is sworn in. She notes that the schedule shows that some of the staffers were in place at 10 a.m., 2 hours before the swearing in, a sign that the work could begin from the first minute President-elect Joe Biden takes office. And also reporting from Jennifer Epstein, Joe Biden will take office later today and begin a flurry of executive actions, including stopping border wall construction, revoking the Keystone Pipeline permit, rejoining the Paris Agreement and the World Health Organization, and imposing a mask mandate on federal property.
Next call is Catherine in Hewitt, New Jersey. Catherine, what would you like to hear from Vice President-elect Biden today?
Good morning, Peter. Yes. Speaking to the America United theme, I would love a recognition of before there can be healing for the nation as a whole, there needs to be healing within the individual factions that exist in our country. And I'm calling you as an independent evangelical Christian who has recognized that I can identify with one of your previous callers who said, you know, there's a fear to speak up. Evangelicals are not cookie cutters who all believe the same thing. And it has just broken my heart to see the violence that has erupted with flags waving in the name of Jesus. That is not who we are. It's not who we're called to be. But oftentimes, those of us that oppose such behaviors have had to be silent because we're afraid of repercussions on the other side. So specifically to evangelicals, I would just ask everybody to put down their guns and get on their knees and pray and get back to the business of being Jesus's hands and feet and trying to reach a hurting world that's terrified of this pandemic right now so that we can have true healing as a nation. President Biden and President Trump have my prayers every day, And Peter, I also want you to know on January 6th, my heart was with everyone at C-SPAN, and you guys were being thought of and prayed for from my house. Thank you so much for what you do for the public and for America.
And that's Catherine in Hewitt, New Jersey. Ka Ori is calling in from Tokyo. First of all, did I say your name correctly?
Almost.
Okay, say it for us,
Kaori.
please. Kaori?
Kaori.
Thank you so much. Why are you watching
Hi.
C-SPAN today?
Oh, this is my first time to see inauguration. I'm saying right because of time zone, but I'm long around enough to attend peace movement at 3 years old in 1969. I have similar experience with Vice President Harris. So very, I feel related. Yes. What I should say?
No. Tell us how do you feel about President-elect Biden being sworn in today?
Yes. So many countries in world is very divided, especially Japan. Especially Japan is very divided. I'm very liberal kind of Japanese, very rare breed. But Japanese government have been get along Trump administration. So
yeah, Mr. Abe and Mr. Trump seemed to be pretty good friends, didn't they?
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Kaori, have you been to the United States?
Yes, when I was university student, like
in 1969, late 80s. Okay.
Oh no, 80s.
Well, thank you for calling in today, and I hope you'll continue to watch us. What channel are you watching us on, or what station?
I'm on YouTube.
On YouTube, okay. Thank you. I'm glad you found us.
You.
Sarah in Yakima, Washington. Hi, Sarah.
Hi. Sorry about that. My voice is off.
Okay, what would you like to say today about today's inauguration?
I don't normally care much for politics, but 2020 was no doubt a rather terrifying year for a lot of people. And there's a lot of problems that need to be dealt with and fixed. And I just wanted to wish President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala the best of luck in their presidential journey.
And what would you like to hear from President Biden today in his inaugural address?
I would just like to hear that he's going to try his best. That, because it's like my mom says, there's certain things that are going to get worse before they can get better. And I just want to hear that he's going to try.
What do you do in Yakima, Washington, Sarah?
I currently am jobless, unfortunately. All I really do is make paintings and tiny sculptures is what I'm trying to do.
All right, good luck to you. Thanks for calling in. Richard is in Netherlands, Colorado. Richard, we're about 2 hours away from a new president of the United States. What do you think about that?
Just fantastic. You know, I'm looking forward to this administration with all the nonsense that's going on. You know, we have 400,000 people dead right now. I'm hoping his speech is going to be, I don't know how it can be about unity, which is nice, but I think civility would work to get towards unity because people just need to be civilized, use common sense, and choose civility. You know, when unity, how it's tough when you come in as president and you're going to remove a lot of things that people that are supporters of Trump aren't going to like you removing those things. So I'm just hoping choose civility. You want unity, legalize federally legalize marijuana. That'll bring unity to the country.
And that's Richard in Netherland, Colorado. Tom is in Schenectady, New York. Tom, are you looking forward to noon today?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing the inauguration, certainly. And if you're not excited by any presidential inauguration, I think you're really missing the point of what's going on. But to answer your question, in terms of what I'd like to hear today, I expect to hear him talk about unity. I want to hear him certainly speak about personal responsibility. But what I'd like to hear him say, and I'm not sure I'm going to hear it, is that there's a responsibility on all sides as it relates to the media in not continuing to make people fearful, not dividing people. I think such a big piece of unity is related to what people are being fed, if you will, when they're watching media, whether it be Fox or CNN, regardless of where you're getting your news from. Because the people who I know who are not watching 24/7 cable news are far more unified, or certainly far more likely to be unified, than those who do. So I'm not sure he's going to bite the hand that feeds him. I certainly, as a career politician, I don't think that he will. But I would like to, if you're asking the question in an ideal world, in his speech today, what would I like to hear? I would like to hear him call for responsibility among those who share the news or spread the news to, as C-SPAN does, let people get the full story and judge for themselves, as opposed to some talking head interpretation of what happened that day and trying to let you know how you should feel about it.
Yeah, Tom, we've heard from several years the personal responsibility aspect and the need to reach out to all sides.
Of course. Look, we're 330 million some odd people in this country, and only 150 million are voted. So while we can puff out our chest and talk about how voter turnout was the highest it ever was, it still wasn't unanimous. There were still many people who chose not to vote. And there's a large contingency in this country, myself included, who are just disgusted by politics. But, I think we also don't blame either Mitch McConnell or Nancy Pelosi for the problems in our lives. If we have issues in our marriage, if we have issues with ourselves, health related, if you're putting on more weight than you like, if you're not eating the right things, if you're having an issue as it relates to your job that could be within your control, that's not the government's fault. That's not the government's responsibility. And I think that oftentimes, far too often, I should say, we don't look at ourselves the way that we ought to, and the news is certainly making it easier to look at somebody else and lay blame.
Yeah, and each inauguration is different. Some have been on the back of the airplane, some have been in the White House. This one is on the west front of the Capitol. Ronald Reagan is the first president to hold it on the west front of the Capitol, and it's always been on the east side prior. But this is the 59th time in our history that a transition of power has happened. And several VIPs arriving at the Capitol for the ceremony, and former presidents as well. It looks like Michelle Obama and her husband, the former president, and the Obamas, the Clintons, and the George W. Bushes will all be attending a wreath-laying ceremony at Arlington Cemetery with the new president and his wife this afternoon, and that will be live, of course, on C-SPAN. Reminder, at C-SPAN is our handle for Twitter, Facebook, web, YouTube, you name it. At C-SPAN is what you should look for. Grace is in Fayetteville, North Carolina, as the music starts on the West Front. Grace, you're on C-SPAN.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Good.
Grace, did you want to say anything?
Yes, I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina. This is my first time watching the inauguration. I'm actually watching it right now, in class with everyone in my AP government class. There's about like 20 of us in here right now. And I just wanted to say that I'm very excited watching this morning and to have a woman of color in office, and hopefully Biden brings healing and peace to our nation.
Now, Grace, how many people in your classes are being held by Zoom?
We're actually in person. We're social distancing right now, but there's about 20 of us in class.
Who's your teacher?
Stephanie Eastman.
Eastman? Ms. Eastman?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
And what school do you go to?
I go to Freedom Christian Academy.
Freedom Christian Academy. Okay, can all the kids hear me right now?
Yeah, they can. Everyone.
All right. So,
that's my class.
Let's hear, Grace, and you do the counting. How many people supported Joe Biden during the campaign?
Everyone raise their hands. Who support?
Who supports Joe Biden?
I think there's about 9 people like that.
Okay, and those who supported Donald Trump?
Who supports Trump? We're counting. About 9 who support Trump. It's pretty even.
They're pretty even.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure Ms. Eastman has talked about this extensively, but the peaceful transfer of power that this nation has, what do you think about that?
She's actually right here. She's actually right here and would love to see that.
All right.
Hi, I'm Ms. Eastman.
Hi, Ms. Eastman.
We have talked at length about that and how, it's happened since the Revolution of 1800 with Thomas Jefferson, and that this is, the bedrock of our democracy that we're watching today. So I'm honored to be here with all my students watching this.
And we're honored to have you call in. We're honored that you're watching us. Thank you, Ms. Eastman, and thank Grace, and wave to the AP class at Freedom Christian in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Let's return to Greta Braun.
Peter, we showed our viewers earlier the Bible that President-elect Joe Biden will use when he is sworn in. Here's the image again from the New York Times. It's 5 inches thick. It's from 1893. Has been in the Biden family and has a Celtic cross on the cover. And we also noted that this Bible was used when then Senator-elect was sworn in for the first time in 1972. That image taken in the hospital when that deadly car crash happened with his wife and his daughter. And you can see in the foreground one of his sons who was injured in that car crash. The Matt Visor of the Washington Post notes this morning a quote, "Lord God, the wise of life and destiny are often hard," the priest told a mourning Biden at his first Senate swearing in a hospital in 1973. He writes, "Now life and destiny have converged again in another moment of crisis," and a link to his piece on Inauguration Day.
And President-elect Biden and Mrs. Biden were downtown Washington. A lot of the other congregants have left already, but the President-elect is still inside St. Matthews. That's 8 blocks north of the White House, and then the next stop will be the Capitol, where a lot of people are arriving. As you can see, we're going to continue to show you everything that's going on while we hear your voices about what you would like to hear with regard to American unity, the theme of this inauguration. Or if you want to talk about past inaugurations, several of our viewers have. We'd love to hear that as well. Tom is in Toronto. Tom, go ahead.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
What do you want to talk about, Tom?
Can you hear me on that end?
We're listening.
Perfect. I think that ultimately we are going to hear Biden touch on the issue of unity. What I would like to hear, but what I'm not too hopeful on hearing, are about 3 issues. I think the first being debt of the United States. The second being trust, not just in the media and between people in the United States, but I think in the government itself. And the third one will probably be America's role on the world stage, which I think in part will be diminished with Trump's sort of early launch.
And was President Trump a daily fixture in the Toronto news?
Quite a bit, for better or for worse. I think that as a Canadian, I am interested in Canadian politics, but a lot of American politics still lives in strong country as well. And so, in order to be politically engaged here, in many ways, you have to be politically engaged in U.S. politics.
Tom, what do you do in Toronto?
I'm a teacher. I teach English, history, science, math, a whole bunch of stuff.
And is today an off day for you?
Today is Zoom or Google Meet day, depending on who you ask, but it's online teaching. We do either morning classes or afternoon classes.
Have you returned to any in-person classes?
Originally, at the start of the semester, we did have in-person classes. Recently, we had more lockdown that it switched us back into online, and for the foreseeable future anyway, it looks like we will be online.
Toronto, we appreciate your time. As the Capitol fills up, we're going to watch.
こいつは最悪だな。ソドムは一人残らず殺して、でなきゃ気が済まないから。当時、大統領を失ったことが残りの評議会に報告されたら、装備品の供給が尽きるわよ。捕まえろ、メイヘム。奴らは下に降りる気だ。
ージェントがグループを離脱しました。